Hello. So, I want to talk to you for a moment about the movie Carrie. I just want to discuss some philosophy that was buried in there. It's in there if you look. Alright, so first and foremost, there's a huge symbol. It's the color red. Yeah, I know, you're automatically jumping to the pig's blood. Okay, well, but let's put that aside for a second. We'll come back to that. Alright. So, why is there so much red in this film, besides the obvious trademark scene? Red was used in this film specifically to mark transgressions. What do I mean by that? Okay, let's start with the first one. Carrie, it is made clear that Carrie was born out of wedlock. And no father. Like, call it whatever you want, but she was born. And she was born, in this film, she portrayed as a redhead. Okay, that seems small. Let's move forward. Alright, so the first scene where we see, how shy she is and how sheltered she is. It's the first time she has her period. Okay. And she's scared, and she's now got blood all over her hands. Now, this is not her transgression. This is her mother's for keeping her ignorant, for neglecting her daughter, and not telling her what she needed to know. Alright. Now, let's go over to Sue, as the blonde in the film. Now, if you recall correctly, her prom dress, it was red. Now, this was a mark of her vanity. And then when she's having underage sex with her boyfriend underneath a red blanket in the back of his truck. Again, this is seen as misconduct. Alright, now, Chris, this is the girl that just could not leave Carrie alone. Now, with Chris it might not be as noticeable, but the red sports car was a symbol of her pride, the pig's blood was her wrath. And there's a scene where Carrie's, she's looking at dresses, shopping for fabric, and you see Chris clearly carrying a red bag from a store. Again, we go back to vanity. Okay, now let's jump back just a little bit. Alright, so at one point Chris states that Carrie has had it coming since the 6th grade. What did she do? Nothing. What this is we live in a society where being weird constitutes an abomination and is punishable by humiliation. So, that's the huge thing, was that she did nothing wrong in the entire film. Everyone else was tossing the ball and they dropped it right on her head. And again, we can go over to the whole thing about red because the teacher in this film, the gym teacher, also a redhead. Now, her thing was her cockiness, her pride, her arrogance. She has this little bit of power inside that school. Yeah, little bit. It went to her head. Thus the redhead. So, let's take that for a second. Again, we go to the fact that she did nothing wrong throughout the entire film. And she's taken the abuse. She's a strong woman, whether she seems like it or not. She's very strong. So here, let's skip on. Let's skip on over to the iconic scene. Now she's been humiliated. She's standing there dripping red, and they're playing the video. You know, plug it up, plug it up. No, this has happened before. This isn't anything new. So why now does she snap? Because it wasn't her dignity that caused her to snap. She's not just been humiliated. That's happened before. Okay, the boy that took her. Now this character, I have to go back to the whole thing about Red. Because there's this scene. There's a scene where he's walking her from her house, from the front porch to the limo. And if you look closely, there is not a speck of red in the sequence where she's being walked to the limousine. Why? Because this moment is entirely innocent. There is no sin here. There is no transgression, abomination, harsh truth, whatever you want to use, whatever term. It doesn't exist here. This was a gentleman. The gentleman whose girlfriend had him like that. I'm sorry, but she did. I don't think he would have asked her out otherwise, because the girlfriend was hounding him to do it. Well, I digress. So this boy has treated her like a freaking human. When the bucket falls, it snaps his neck. It killed him. Now, not only has she been disgraced publicly, she lost what feels like her only friend. Now, a lot of you are thinking, no, Sue was her friend. Nah, Sue wasn't. Sue wasn't even out about her kindness towards her. She wasn't. She was behind the scenes trying to rearrange things so that Carrie's life would be easier. So Carrie could have a good time. Because she felt bad. Her act of redemption for her guilt was offering her prom night to Carrie. Now this is important though. Why was she seeking redemption? She felt guilt. Why did she feel guilt? Because she did something wrong. I'm not that old. But the longer I live, with every year that goes by, I see humanity reaching an all-time low. Even now. When she was homeschooled, Carrie was homeschooled. They made that abundantly clear in the film. We have this obsession that everyone has to be raised the right way. I use the term right way as the common way. I didn't say normal because normal does not exist. Normal is perspective. So I use the term common. Alright. So now we get to the brass tacks. The slaughter scene. I love this scene because it exercises the point when ants become gods. Then mass panic ensues because the people that are between ant and God, just man in general, does not know what to do, and they know they treated the ant poorly when it was an ant. Now that it's become a god, wrath ensues. And Carrie did not... Here's the thing, we do not hold people responsible when they psychologically snap. We don't, because if you think about it, in the heat of the moment, you're processing your options simply by what you want to achieve. You just avoid sending ideas through your amygdala, which is your emotional control section, which tells you, what's the right thing to do. This goes. That is a trademark of a psychopath. Does not use his amygdala. Does not use calm, rash judgment about what is the right thing. He doesn't. But this was a temporary case. That's why we call it temporary insanity. Again, I digress. Now, but you notice though that the two people the person she didn't kill in the auditorium. I'm not counting Sue because Sue wasn't even in the auditorium because the teacher locked her out. She saves the teacher. The teacher may not have been the wisest when it came to Carrie's well-being, but at least she stood up for her. Again, treating her decently. That's it. She wasn't a friend. She wasn't even very communicative. She was talking to Carrie. She wasn't letting Carrie talk back to her so much. But what it was she stood up for her. And I've made this point with people, we have to fear the weird ones. We have no idea what anyone's capable of. And weird people, I can say that because I'm weird. I'm a freaking nut. We have to be afraid of them. We don't know what they're going to do. They know what we're going to do because we have common behavior. They do not. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know what their limits are. We don't know what their cap on violence is. We don't even know if they have one. So, after the fire ensues and all this crap goes down, now Chris is running off. She's running off with her boyfriend. And there's this scene. Remember how I described, red is a color. It's a symbol. Okay, so there's this red sports car that she rides around in with her boyfriend. And I probably discussed this earlier. And there's a scene where she drives it, she aims it towards Carrie, and she goes, "Mow it down!" Okay, what happens? Carrie crushes the car. Not only does she crush the car, but when Chris winds it back and tries to go for seconds, she throws the car into the gas station. And not only is the car crushed, but also is Chris's face. Goes right through the window. Sliced up by glass. Her pride is broken, just like her face was. Skin on her face. Anyway, so let's go back. Let's go back to the whole thing about Carrie's psychosis or temporary insanity. Carrie never wanted to hurt anyone. When her mind reverted back to her shy demeanor and she's at home, you see her practically rubbing her skin raw, trying to get all that blood off. There's this point where after we get in the heat of the moment and after our heart rate calms down, go back to normal behavior, and our impulses at that time, what seemed like a good idea, just didn't work. Now, I've talked a lot about Carrie. I've talked a lot about Chris. There's the third person, the third girl in this whole story that I didn't talk about as much. Talked about the redhead and the brunette. Let's go to the blonde, Sue. Alright, so it's been made clear in this film. Carrie's mother, her problem was that she loved Carrie too much. resulting in an abused and shy girl. Chris's father had the reverse problem. He didn't love his daughter enough. He was not strict with her. And so she thought the world was her oyster and she could just ensue anarchy. Which brings us to Sue. Sue is pregnant with a daughter towards the end of the film, as explained by Carrie when she tells her it's a girl. Sue's now seen the two parenting styles. She's seen the outcome of how two people raise their daughters. And both ended up trying to kill the other in the end. And one succeeded. From this, Sue is now presented with a choice. How much can I love my daughter without killing her? Or without turning her into a killer? We never think about that. We never think that it is possible to love somebody too much or not enough. We always think that loving them is loving them. And to not love them is to not love them. But it's possible to love them so little it seems like it's not at all. This film's important. It's not a horror film, it's hardly scary, but it does show what happens when extreme actions occur. They result in extreme measures from the other side. I'm a writer, and one time I put this message out. I said, every violent action will result in revenge, so make sure you can take the punishment. In this case, no one was ready for this punishment. Alright, so I guess that's about it. I intend to do more videos about this, just philosophy within film. Some might be longer, some might be shorter, I don't know. It's just, the films that there's this underlying point that I feel people have missed that I want to bring to light. That's what this is. So I'll catch you around. Bye.